I know the room is still filling up, but we have a pretty tight schedule since we have a guest speaker or special guest joining us later. So I would invite you to grab a drink and have a seat. We'll kick this off and let the rest of the investors and fill in the back of the room. So please come on forward, if you would. So we also have just this room is a little cozy and a little yeah, cozy. So we'll get to know each other very well. But we also have a lot of people online. So you're not alone. You're being filmed. There's cameras. So wave to everyone joining us online. You can't see them because we have too many other technical things happening. But welcome to everyone also joining us online from all over the world for this Deep Tech Demo Day. I know we have guests from all the way as far as California and Silicon Valley. So yeah, hopefully we'll make some connections digitally as well. So I'm going to kick it off here, and my name is Travis Todd. I'm the head of Silicon Allee here at Fraunhofer Heinrich Hertz Institute. And again, thank you all for joining. I know this was a very competitive night for investors and pitch events in Berlin specifically. So I really want to thank you for choosing us and say, you know, I'm a little bit biased, but this is definitely where you're going to see the most innovative technology and get the best investment deals. So you made the right choice. Tonight we're going to introduce a little bit more about Silicon Valley, just in case you're not familiar with us and our terms and our operations here at Fraunhofer Heinrich Hertz Institute. Then we're going to have a really inspirational fireside chat with Thomas Weaver about how sci-fi can inspire deep tech innovation. That's going to be a really special treat, and I hope kind of brings a spark of inspiration to the room. Then we'll have our startup pitches, and that's where our portfolio startups who are raising investment raising investment rounds will impress you with all the work that they've been tirelessly working on for the last year. And then we'll do some matchmaking leaving time for individual meetings with some of the investors who signed up earlier with our startups. And then we'll have some closing and networking and have some more food and some drinks at the end. So that's what we have in store for you tonight. So briefly about Silicon Allee. The problem we're trying to solve is that Europe spends 300 billion euros a year in research money, but only less than 10% of that research actually becomes commercially viable. So how are we doing that? Well, Silicon Allee has joined forces 2 years ago with Fraunhofer Heinrich Hertz Institute. So this combines Berlin's innovation network, Silicon Allee, that's been around since 2011, with our impact startup accelerator experience, the 100 million plus raised by our past portfolio companies, with the thousands of researchers and PhD students here at Fraunhofer's Heinrich Hertz Institute, who are world leaders in AI, video, wireless, and photonics, and have also 2 Emmy Awards, so they're award-winning researchers here at HHI. And this perfect match is solving this problem of trying to get more we have the mission, let's say, of creating more startups from the research that these world-class researchers are doing here. And the innovative thing we are doing, so especially for you investors, this is where it's important to pay attention. We have this new radical approach to spin-outs here at HHI. We're using virtual equity as the mechanism that the startups receive the licensing of the IP. So the virtual shares are the payments for any IP that they create here. And because we use virtual equity, that means we do not have board seats. We do not have shareholder rights as you would with common equity. We do not have voting rights. So we're really hands-off compared to other research institutions and academia for the IP that we give to our startups. And then the startups get deep research involvement from the institute. They get exclusive tech licenses to their IP. They have clean cap tables because it's only virtual equity, so we're not on the equity cap table. We've proved these terms with VCs, always looking for feedback if you have other suggestions. And we're also then long-term incentivized because, as you know, with virtual equity, we only receive a payout at the end, at exit. So we're incentivized to help these startups all the way through the process. So at the end of the spectrum, and this is some of the startups you'll see tonight, are looking for this clean exit. So once the team raises 1 million in venture capital, they graduate with an unrestricted IP license to all the IP and patents developed within our accelerator program, and they have complete freedom to grow their business with no control from Fraunhofer. So this is really a new model, and this is the triggering event that all the startups here today are searching for, and we're excited to share their stories with you today. We'll be hearing later from 5 startups who have spent over 15,000 hours of work to get here tonight. And this is the 5 startups are from our first portfolio. So the first startups who've taken a bet on us as well and trusted us with this new process and this new program. And so we're very grateful to them as well for trusting us. And we hope we can kind of provide value. We hope we provided value back. And then we'll also hear from a bonus startup who joined us yesterday. So this is also an exciting development. They've just started our program. They're just at the beginning of their journey, but they're just as eager to raise venture capital. So look out for them as well. So that's Silicon Allee. We're the team is here. Team, raise your hand so everybody knows who the. Okay, there's all your Silicon Allee team. So if you have any questions about what I discussed, they're available to answer them. And those of you online, always available via Slack, email, what have you, to answer any questions about our terms in details. Okay, then without further ado, we're going to try something that we've never tried before. And so bear with us if there are some technical hiccups. But I would like to invite our guest, our special guest for the evening, to join us. Thomas Weaver is the author of Artificial Wisdom, which I have the book right here. And we will talk more about that in a minute. And I think we have you, Thomas. Now, I think Thomas, I don't know if he can see us, so if you can hear us, say hello.
Hello.
Okay, great. Perfect. Thank you for joining us, Thomas. This is a special treat for myself, and I hope the rest of the investors and entrepreneurs and researchers in the room will enjoy this discussion as much as I know I will.
I hope so too.
Yeah. So the reason I wanted to bring Thomas here, I'll introduce him in just a second, but I have this deep philosophy that in doing deep tech innovation, we don't have to do a lot of heavy thinking about the products we need to develop. All we need to do is read and watch sci-fi. Because science fiction has done all the heavy lifting for us. They've, invented all the things we need to invent for the future. So that's why I'm very excited to talk with Thomas, because Thomas is a tech entrepreneur turned author. He holds a degree in computer science, though he never expected to use it directly in his career. And after exploring how technology could transform physical environments from schools to shops, he founded a restaurant hospitality tech startup, which was acquired by Just Eat Takeaway in 2019. And this exit gave him the freedom to pursue his long-held dream of writing fiction. He debuted with Artificial Wisdom, the book we have here today, And it was originally self-published in 2023 and relaunched by Penguin Random House's Del Rey imprint in August 2025, with a sequel due in 2026. And I believe the German edition coming out on shelves now or coming out soon.
I think it's October, but one of the things you find in publishing is that the person who actually writes the books gets very few of the details themselves. They tend to find out when everybody else does. So I think it's probably October time.
Okay, so look out in October for the German edition of Artificial Wisdom.
Yeah, it's going to be called 2050. Change of title.
Once more, what's it called?
It's going to be called 2050, I think.
2050. Okay. And to give a quick synopsis without too many spoilers of the book, set in the year 2050, amid the climate collapse, Artificial Wisdom follows investigative journalist Marcus Tully. And 10 years after losing his wife and unborn child in a catastrophic heat wave, he uncovers a conspiracy tied to geoengineering interventions. And as nations prepare to elect a global leader, the choice comes down to a former US president or Solomon, the world's first AI politician. Then dramatic events ensue, and the main character finds himself drawn into a high-stakes conspiracy that questions whether salvation is worth sacrificing freedom. And for all you Germans out there, this is a real murder mystery techno thriller, and I know that we all love Tatort, so this is like Tatort but in the future. So definitely pick it up. Great, Thomas, thanks for joining us. I am really curious first about your personal journey. So after exiting your startup, what made you decide it was time to pursue fiction?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as we all know, running a startup is a pretty intense, high-stress experience, and selling a startup turns out to be even more high stress. And so I felt pretty burned out after selling the business. I didn't really feel like I wanted to jump straight back in again. I mean, I didn't particularly need to either. A lot of entrepreneurs do. I think my co-founder was very fidgety after he sold. He didn't really know what to do with himself. And whereas I was very much of the opinion that I'd done my time, I'd done all the tricky stuff, managing your C-suite when you're multi-territory and dealing with complicated board of investors and all the sort of stuff that we all know and love. And I'd love the journey. I just didn't want to go straight back in again, maybe ever. So I'd always wanted to be a writer. I'd wanted to become a writer since I was about 12, and I always told myself that I couldn't really afford to be a writer. I needed to earn money and a living first, because this impression I always had in my head that most authors are living lives of poverty, and probably alcoholism too. And maybe one of those things is true, but we very much kind of got to the point where my wife said, "Look, you've always wanted to write. You have no more excuses. Go write." And I thought, well, that would be a nice kind of meditative, low stress kind of thing that I could do with my time now that I've finished the high stress part of my career. And that was very true up until really the point at which you start to find an agent you want to get published, and it turns out that actually you can experience more rejections as an author trying to get an agent than you do from venture capitalists trying to raise money. And then when you actually do get a publisher, it is maybe more stressful than being an entrepreneur, I will say, just because you have less control over all of the different parts of the experience, less things that you can adjust for. And it turns out author mental health is terrible. So I'll say that if any of you ever want to become an author, just know that being an entrepreneur is great training.
That's great. Yeah, it sounds like a very similar process, and I'm sure also taking the path of initially self-publishing, being an entrepreneur, gave you a leg up there on how to do it yourself, how to bootstrap the book. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that was fascinating, and it's not something that many people do well in this space. And I'd looked at it and said, how do I bring all the skills I have to the table and build a product? One thing I'm good at is early stage. So creating a product, making it look beautiful, getting it into people's hands. That was what I really wanted to do. And then when it got to the stage where it had outgrown my capability of dealing with things like distribution in different countries, it was time to exit essentially and find a traditional publisher to take it on and to bring it to bookstores globally.
Great. So turning to the book itself and the themes within the book, there's some weighty themes. There's climate collapse, AI as an adversary, power structures in this murder mystery techno thriller. How did you kind of shape this narrative and come to this concept for that's what you wanted to write about?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, one of the things I found having sold a business was that you suddenly have time to think, maybe for the first time in quite a long time, and nature abhors a vacuum, and you suddenly get all of the worries about the world kind of flowing in, and so a little bit of this was my therapy. It was taking all of the things I was worried about polarization, politically, and deep faking, and the climate, and AI, and all of the stuff that I thought that we hadn't got a grip on as a society, and fed it into the narrative that I wanted to tell. And I think um, a lot of people find that reading this stuff in the form of nonfiction or even news articles is a challenge. A lot of the people that I see embracing my book would definitely never read this kind of thing if it was you know looking a forecast into the future. And so fiction offers a safe space not only for me as a writer but also for a lot of people as readers to engage with something that they might otherwise stick their head in the sand and ignore. And that's been quite powerful. And then I really wanted to make sure that if you're putting this big stuff in, it can't be preachy. It can't be just a load of a character navel gazing and monologuing and saying this is what should happen. I wanted to have characters that disagree and paint multiple sides of an issue and leave questions and above all be compelling people to go through a manuscript, page turning, because they're determined to find out what's happening. And so obviously I was looking at other kinds of stories, like Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, for example, which for me really embeds these multiple types of stories within one, a murder mystery wrapped in a thriller, with a lot of different kind of themes coming in.
Great. Yeah, thanks. I think what was really striking to me, we hear a lot about the potential for like living in the climate collapse of the future, but in the book, you're actually, experiencing characters who are living it, and and that gives a much different perspective than kind of trying to imagine what it would be like in the future when someone's maybe done the imagining for you. um,
Yeah, there's something very, very powerful about seeing through a character's eyes, and there's neurological reasons for that. Our brain treats characters in book and film as if they are real people that we know, and the closer you can get to the character inside their head, the more we start to project ourselves into it. So it's again a very powerful, safe way of experiencing lives that we wouldn't otherwise experience.
Cool. Okay, I'm gonna start to get nerdy now. I mean, we have a bunch of researchers
Let's
in
do
the
it.
room as well, so we're gonna nerd out a little bit. Some of the tech in artificial wisdom is rooted in real research,
Yeah.
long distance quadricopters, neuroreality, uh, emergency response drones, which one of our startups here today is actually developing in the book. While other ideas in the book are a bit you stretch the imagination a bit. A couple that I picked up on were ingestible perfume, atmosphere changing technology, or the one I really liked was the injectable drunkenness cure that just cured you of being drunk immediately. What inspired these technologies, and how do you balance like the plausibility of them with the kind of creativity of them?
Yeah, I mean, what's fun when you're writing is that you don't just stick technology in there for the sake of having technology in there. You stick it in there because it solves or creates problems for your characters. So in a way, all the experience I had over so many years of doing kind of user research as we were developing startup ideas was really useful because you are kind of you are literally getting behind the eyes of a character and seeing what kind of things they need at any one time. And so I would be drawing on existing stuff as much as I could. I would often, you know, have my characters in situations, be trying to think how we might build around that situation, and then go and research what's existing in that space. And I very much wanted to avoid what I call the Back to the Future 2 problem. This, something where you're projecting maybe 20, 30 years ahead, but not necessarily based on existing technology. And Back to the Future
Yeah.
2 was one of my favorite movies growing up, but we don't have flying cars and we don't have hoverboards today. And that's always kind of annoyed me a little bit. So I didn't want people to have that same experience when they're reading artificial wisdom. I wanted stuff to be grounded. And so I would look at the kind of S curve maturity of existing technologies and say, okay, where are we in, say, something like virtual reality today? Okay, then there'll be something that comes along after that within maybe a 20-year cycle, and then maybe we're just starting to see the technology after that kind of coming in within, because we're dealing with 25 years out. So it would be a little bit of projection forward, but trying to really take stuff that's very rooted in things that we have today. And often where I found that, you say ingestible perfume maybe stretches the imagination, but sometimes I'd be coming up with these ideas, I'd start to Google them, and of course there'd be somebody working on these very things, injectable perfume being one of them. So I surprised myself sometimes coming up with ideas and then finding that they were more valid than necessarily I thought they would be. But I think it's a great way of being creative. Is You are literally trying to deal with real world problems and think, okay, if we had technology in the future and it could be anything, let's imagine somebody's being able to bring emergency response drones to market. What would that look like, and how would it work, and how would the characters perceive it, and would they know how it worked, or was this like magic to them that they can see it working and they observe the effects of it, but they don't necessarily understand it.
Cool. So, and you mentioned Back to the Future too. I'm curious, what also inspired you to write in sci-fi? Are there specific books or films that stood out to you as inspirations, maybe in this book or just generally?
Um, I mean, I've always loved the future. I always said if I could time travel, it wouldn't be back in time; it would be into the future. So there's always been that aspect, um, and um, and I like near future as well because it gives you the chance of really showcasing I would say, it's the problems that we're facing today that you're kind of pushing forward 20, 30 years, and it allows you to explore the problems of today from a different angle, from a safe space again. And you're able to dial certain things up. So that was why I wrote in the future. I would say Michael Crichton, obviously, I see him as pretty much a father of techno thriller. Jurassic Park was a techno thriller. It felt modern day, but they had technology that was not modern. Um, the classics in the genre are kind of more cyberpunky, but things like Neuromancer and Snow Crash, which were very influential on the world of technology. And of course, things like Blade Runner, although that's more dystopian than I wanted to go. But I mean, I think sometimes when you're looking into the future, you want to give yourself a certain vibe, and rewatching those films or listening to the soundtracks can be a great way of getting you in the right mindset.
Awesome. Yeah, great tip. Um, if there was a piece of techno fiction that you would love to see like realized in modern day, like maybe an inspiration for a future founder here, what would be kind of one piece of tech that you'd like to see in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, the next 5 to 10 years is tough because, yeah, I say a lot of my headspace is 25 years out at the moment. But I mean, so the one I created in the book that I thought is very, very interesting, especially as we start to look at brain-computer interfaces and start to understand a bit more about consciousness, will be, a future version of virtual reality that is a bit more full sensory. And so in the book, I have neuro reality and really tried to give a feel for what it would be like to hack all of your sensory cortexes and essentially create an experience that felt like you were really there. This is probably the more speculative end of the spectrum, very challenging to pull off, but um, I think that would be very, very interesting. And this was very much inspired by being here in lockdown when I was writing the book, and using VR as really an escapism to be in places that I wasn't allowed to go anymore, um, but still finding it, a relatively limited experience. And it's certainly been one of the things that people have loved about the book is that I wasn't writing this just to be some sort of magic. I was representing, what would a Zoom call look like if you had neural reality, if you were able to essentially meet someone and it felt like you're meeting them in person. What would that feel like? What would it be like to, how do you get into it in the first place? And that's the sort of stuff that I was had a lot of fun with, that experience of using the technology as an experienced user or as a novice. We have, for example, what we call an ego space, where it's essentially their home environment and it's personal to them and nobody else can see it. So what happens later when you need to invite somebody in and that feels like a very personal thing? So that's the sort of stuff that I really really loved. But honestly, I mean, I get very excited about the world of technology anyway. So there's so much within the book I would love to see happen, and so much within the book I would that is a bit more scary, and
Yeah.
that do you think we need to be very careful about?
Yeah, perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to segue into, but put a quick pin in that just because I wanted to point out that here at Heinrich Hertz Institute, to plug ourselves, we do a lot of groundbreaking research on virtual reality and new technologies. So anytime you need some researchers, you need to ping some ideas off of, I'm sure we'd be glad to help out there. And it's great that you highlighted that as one of your most exciting potential technologies.
Mm.
But yeah, you did just mention there kind of some of the stuff. I think in the double edged sword of all technologies is it can be used for good or evil. Is there specific things in your research for the book or specific technologies that you came across where you did get freaked out a little bit about the potential for misuse?
I mean, all of it. I mean, and that is in general my view of technology, and the one I've really tried to bring forward into the book is that double edge. I believe all technology can do amazing things and terrible things, and the terrible things are obviously unintended. But our phones have connected us to people instantly on the other side of the world, and addicted us in ways we could never have predicted 20 years ago, and burnt people out because they're always on, and always on call. So I do think of that duality, whether it comes to AI and the potential of AI to solve challenges that could really transform our future in ways that are incredibly positive, from medical to climate interventions and other things. That's incredibly powerful, and yet we can see it today that we're already starting to grapple with what the societal effects of something like this will be. Psychosis, when people tried, when Chat GPT was changed to the new version, and it changed the personality of it. We're dealing with challenging stuff. So for me, I mean, the one that I think is most exciting and most scary at the same time, we've already mentioned it, which is drones. And I do think that the potential of what we can do with drones, for example, with emergency response, will be potentially transformational, and it could enable our emergency teams to deal with complex situations while they're still on the way there, and provide a lot of different information that we can't otherwise get today. And at the same time, when I think about drones and how they're being used in the war today, I worry a lot about what a future will look like, both for foreign invasions and for governments that are seeking to take more control over their citizens. And I'm not naming any particular government, but I'm just saying that in a world that is seemingly more authoritarian than it used to be, I think that gives me a lot of pause, because it is a very cheap, affordable, powerful technology at scale that can also be used to kill people whilst removing harm from the potential operator. And I don't think we are prepared as a society for what that will look like in 10 to 15 years, if it is used against us. So it's complicated, isn't it? Right? I mean, all of
Yeah.
these things
Yeah.
so incredible and so complicated at the same time. And that's why I think there is an ethical responsibility on all of us as technologists and as writers to think about the narratives that we create and make sure that we're steering society towards positive narratives, and that they're using technology for good as much as we possibly can.
Great. You're just setting me up, which is amazing for my next topic every time. So I love this. I want to get into a little bit about that ethics aspect. As I mentioned at the beginning, one of the main characters in the book and one of the main conflicts in the book is an artificial superintelligence named Solomon, who is nominated, I guess, to be to be elected as the first world leader. And so this is like made the tension in the book is, can we elect an AI basically to rule over us? And 2 weeks ago, serendipitously, Albania just announced that the creation of the world's first AI-based public servant. So they're trying to combat corruption in their public procurement process and create and nominated an AI to handle all of their public procurement applications. And so I was really surprised, like, wow, okay, the future is now. This is pretty timely. And yeah, we also do a lot of ethical AI and explainable AI research here at HHI, and I think um, Solomon in the book is somewhat of aspirational figure, but also a cautionary tale. Um, how do you think about AI and the ethics of AI, especially in using it in a public service perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously what an incredibly complex and deep topic. I think for me, I was very excited to explore a story that wasn't the robots are going to kill us, because we've heard that story, many times. It's almost embedded in our global consciousness. When we see a robot today, we kind of have a little bit of a visceral reaction, because we've just seen so many movies that imagine them destroying us. So I didn't want to tell another one of those stories. I do believe that we're going to be dealing with some very, very complex issues that are maybe beyond human brains to deal with. And that might not just be on the climate front, it may be on all sorts of different fronts. We have the potential capability to bring some extraordinary computing power to our greatest problems. And I wanted to explore what the potential and the pitfalls of that could potentially be, because whilst we tend to anthropomorphize our technology, our AI, we're looking at it today and seeing them, introduce kind of rasping voices and hesitation and pauses to make it feel more human. Um, that is a little bit manipulative, because we're trying to pass it off, as being human when we don't particularly need to. It's just to make people relate to it and trust it a little bit more. I think that's a very complicated area. I'm not quite sure what the right answers are, but definitely that was something I leaned into, because if you're trying to get elected, you want to feel both that you are, uh, you know, you want to feel that you're electing somebody that can deal with all the problems, and yet it's also somebody you'd like to have a beer with, right? So there's
Yeah.
that
Hmm.
duality of what we expect from our elected position. So yeah, it was interesting. I wanted to show that maybe these things are incredibly powerful, and we tend to put a human instinct on them, but ultimately are going to be as distinct from us as an alien species would be, because they will not necessarily think like us, even if they are trained on our thoughts, and we will not necessarily be able to understand it all. And yet that could actually do some good as well as some harm.
Yeah, thank you so much. Also kind of personally curious. I mean, you wrote the book in COVID, so before kind of the big ChatGPT explosion.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but uh, now we just talked about the ethics of AI, and I know there's been a lot of pushback from authors and content creators. Do you use and how do you use AI in your work now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very toxic topic within the publishing industry. I mean, it's when you see authors talk about AI, it's obviously with fear, but it's also with vitriol. And it's fascinating being part of actually two different kind of echo chambers, because
Yeah.
on one social media platform, I'm with all the technologists, on another I'm with all the authors, and I see both sides of how people are responding to this technology. So I've been very careful about it in my own use when it comes to writing, but obviously I need to understand what the capabilities of this tech are. What does it mean for us to use it? And I've experimented with coding in it, for example, and how powerful that can be to bring and where it falls down. And actually some of the fundamental uses I've found that are really useful for me tend to be the simpler ones. I use a great uh, voice transcription tool called
Mhm.
Whisper. Where you hold down a hotkey on your computer, and you can speak really fast, and it is using a combo of deep AI plus general voice recognition to be able to transcribe and format what you're writing, and that's I think this is awesome because this is an incredibly um, neat, powerful use of AI that isn't the kind of generalistic, oh, it can do everything, but is like very, very targeted. And that kind of stuff excites me a little bit more.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I think that's always a challenge in the creative industries of how do you manage the kind of not let the computers take over all the creative tasks, but how do you use it to kind of do your job faster and better and empower you and augment you rather than kind of replace you.
I think that's the potential, right? And augmentation is what we're really talking about here,
Yeah.
and what we're hopeful for. But obviously, one person's augmentation is another person's lost opportunity. So I mean, we're gonna be dealing with some really difficult things, and there's going to be a lot of societal upheaval around it. And again, it's something maybe we can't be prepared for it. Maybe we just get shoved through it like we do with every technology, and then just try and put ourselves together on the other side.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully we can ease that transition.
Hope so. I hope so. Please.
Yeah. That we have about 4 minutes left, and I know you're a busy man with another book to write. So I'm curious if there's any other messages or inspiration you'd like to give to a room full of scientists, founders, and investors, especially those working at this intersection of sci-fi and deep tech.
Yeah, I mean, I think we live in exponentially changing times. I mean, we've always maybe felt that, but it does feel like the world is moving incredibly fast. And I also think that we've maybe become so polarized as a global society on different issues, maybe deliberately so, that governments are not necessarily going to be able to solve some of our biggest challenges themselves. They're going to be paralyzed. And we can see that in how different countries responded to COVID, and we can see it in different responses to the climate, and we can see it in different responses to war and all sorts of different issues. And unfortunately, I think that means that actually, our entrepreneurs and our investors and our scientists need to step up and find private funding opportunities to create the kind of change that we all want to see in the world. And we're going to have to push through and do it sometimes in spite of public support for what's happening, because we're not going to be able to take everybody on the journey in the way that we always would love to be able to do. And we're not going to be able to find kind of government support that we always thought we'd be able to depend on. But then that's kind of what entrepreneurship does really well. It just sort of comes up with an idea and then is incredibly persistent at making that vision a reality. And so, my personal hope when I look towards the future and I do think about things like the climate, I'm a tech optimist, and I do believe that there are some very, very smart people who are backed by some very, very smart people all around the world who are working on things that, when we put them together in aggregate, will create changes that will save us. And I am hopeful. I do actually always write with worries about the future, but also a sense of hope as well, because I see some of the wonderful things that are going on, and amazing startups all the time creating things. I just think that's got to be the most important thing that we can be doing for the world right now, is just keep on creating things that will make a difference on aggregate in the long run. So good luck to everybody, and I hope that you're thinking beyond the norm, and looking at some very creative ways of solving the big things that we're facing.
I love that. I love that. Build the change we want to see in the world.
That's right.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Thomas. Here, I'll hold up the book again. If go pick up this book. Pick it up in October in German language and probably in several other languages as well. I'm guessing coming soon.
Yeah, France, Vietnamese, and it's coming out all over, but the big versions in the English language, US, UK, and Australia and everywhere else.
And you'll devour it. I couldn't put it down, and then it'll be just in time for the sequel, I'm sure. So, thank you again, Thomas, for joining us and inspiring us. If we could give a round of applause. Yeah, thank you again. And if you ever need any advice from researchers in these fields, we're always here to inspire you as well. So, thank you again for joining us. All right. I hope that was exciting and enlightening. Again, I couldn't put that book down, so that was really thank you for indulging me in that nerdy moment. We're now going to move on to the reason we're all here tonight, to hear from the startups themselves. And for this, I'm going to bring on my colleague Florine onto the stage. Florine is our head of startup acceleration and has been in the trenches with these teams, and is going to take over for me and welcome them on stage.
Thank you. Yeah, getting from back to fiction, no, from fiction to nonfiction now, right? But we have some stories, I guess, for future nonfiction. Since this is like the whole discussion I had with Tom kind of derailed my speaker notes here. I'll try and make some bridges now because we have drones, we have some immersive media, and we have a bunch of other technologies that, let's say, hopefully you guys will grow in the next years, and you'll be the source of fiction in years to come, right? But I just want to say good evening to everybody. I'm Florian. I'm one of the founding members here at Silicon Allee, but I'm also the head of the Deep Tech Startup Accelerator here at Fraunhofer Heinrich Hertz Institute. So I just wanted to welcome today that and say that we'll get to look at some of the technologies that we that only live in research labs, right? And that's kind of the problem that Travis, explained at the beginning. We're trying to get it more out in the hands of people so they can dream about future technology and kind of technologies that would impact the greater world. But with our support, with our accelerator program, we see them become products, and then what you're going to see today, you're going to see products that move into the real world, right? So these are not, again, they're not fiction, they're based in reality, and you'll get to see them today one by one. I'm going to invite them on stage. So we have everything from AI that reads court cases, so we people don't have to. Hopefully that's like, let's say, a sort of a analogy to the Solomon character, but this is more so maybe like an AI to make sure that future technology is ethical and on the human rights side, right? Anything from there to drones that save the lives, people lives, and also tools to help kids learn the music instrument. So we have a little bit of everything, right? The cohort is equal parts curiosity, I would say, and also courage, right? Because we really admire all these founders that, they took the founder role to sort of, use the technology that we have here to build a company, right? A little bit of like how we're gonna run this section of the event. Like every startup will come on stage and deliver a pitch for 5 minutes. We're not going to take any questions, and the reason being so is that we will encourage more of like one-on-ones afterwards. Right? So if you see here on the live side, we have, I think for each startup, we have like a booth where they will be afterwards. And if you keep your burning questions all the way to the end, they might reward you with a very cool demo day. Sorry, not demo day, but demo of their product that they've just developed for you today. So there's a lot of demos going to happen on those screens after we're done, right? Right. So again, I started with this. I had an idea about the first startup. The whole discussion with Tom really derailed, But I want to make this analogy, and I want to invite on stage Anita, which is our AI legal tech company, right? Their goal is simple, right? Take research that normally take hours and compress that into minutes, right? But we don't want to miss out on any of the context that actually helps lawyers win. So let's say that hopefully Anita will be the future Solomon in a future book character, say be on our side, not against us. So I'll pass it on to Till.
Nice, thanks. This works, nice. So one of my co-founders, he's a lawyer actually, and lawyers spend a lot of time doing legal research. In fact, they spend 20% of their weekly working time. And even though they spend all this time and also money doing this, in the end, they end up with a lot of unsatisfying results because they don't find the answers to the questions their clients ask. How much does my case cost? How long does it take? What are my winning arguments in front of court? And this is too many reasons. One is we have limited data available. For example, in Germany, only 1% of court decisions are publicly available. And the common database companies only link these court decisions with a wall of text and a keyword search. And some of them are trying to implement some chatbots, but they're hallucinating as fuck. So just some weeks ago, a lawyer in Australia cited some fake court decisions based upon an hallucinating chatbot, and he got barred from accessing his practice for the next 2 years, right? And we have like big database companies in the United States, LexisNexis, and their chatbots still hallucinate in every third case, right? And that's a very outdated experience. For example, in Germany, that's what lawyers see every day. They go to a common database. And we say we can tackle that. We can reduce the research time by 75% and also bring the lawyer the money back he cannot charge in front of his clients if he's just doing legal research without satisfying results. And we do this on many ways. One is we go much deeper in the data analysis. We really dig down and see what are the arguments the court brought up in front of court. Are there chains of arguments over time? And we combine this with unpublished data. We've spoken to 1,200 law firms, and 85% of them are willing to share their data with us. And the law firms that work together with us are already doing this day by day. And we use a patented explainable AI software here from Fraunhofer HHI to avoid and get rid of hallucinations, because we can track down what the model is doing and can also force it to think in a certain way and just not hallucinate anymore. And of course, we combine it with a modern design and a nice workflow from research to execution. This is how it looks like. On the left side, the lawyer can insert the research task, and then we have our digital research assistant, Anita, executing the task, bringing him research results or the code already written that the lawyer wants to send to the court or to the opposing counsel. That's the market we're going for. We start from the bottom in the IP law sector because these lawyers are more affine to newer technologies, and we're going to leave this market soon to go in other fields of laws and also other countries in the European Union. We offer our product in two ways. One is Anita Public, based on public data, and the law firm data that the law firms share with us and others. But there are also clients, for example, one of the biggest banks in Germany that we're talking to, and they just want to share the data internally with their 500 law offices they have. And for them, we offer a private version where we, of course, charge an extra fee with regards to setup and maintenance. But generally, our licensing fee is 30 euros, a very simple basis based upon the number of people that use the product. And we reach our clients in many ways. Of course, we do email marketing. Lawyers love to fax, so we fax back. And we also do social media, calls, of course, and we have a student platform where law students can get early access to free content and also get in touch with Anita on the first days of law school. We have some cooperation partners also in sales. One is Soldan, that is normally used to sell like chairs and desks to law firms early on, but also software, and they have access to 30% of our early adopter clients, and a marketplace of SDP, which is kind of the Microsoft Office for lawyers, and it's the market leader there in Europe that introduced us into their marketplace. Of course, we're not the only ones doing it, but what makes us special? Several things. One is we have unpublished data that no one else has, with the law firms sharing it with us, and 85% want to do this. We combine it with deep data insights, And of course, we avoid hallucinations and offer precise source referencing due to our XAI software. And we're not focused on one country, but we want to combine it in Europe to also offer legal comparison between European countries. And we also fine-tune small models, not big ones, in between our lines to also get independent from the United States model offers. And we keep it everything with a nice price-performance ratio. That's a team of technical and legal experts, and that's what we've achieved so far. So MRR of 10K, we have like 500 law firms already using it, and we're adding to this 2 every day. And as I said, we start in the field of IP law, but we're going to leave this sector very soon. And this is one of the quotes of our clients, and I'm proud of it because I didn't have to force him to say it, so I can put it on a PowerPoint, but he said it's very nicely integrated in his daily workflow where he can just start with research and end up with a court brief written that he can send to the court. So far, we've been funded publicly and by Fraunhofer HHI. And soon, as I said, we're going to go to all fields of law and different countries, starting with the DACH region, Austria and Switzerland, to reach in the next 2 to 3 years 1 million MRR with around 40,000 euros in this region. And of course, we're going to do some fundraising soon, but not at the moment, because we want to be sure that the 2 law firms that we add every day with our growth rate and the churn rate are nice and smooth so that we can start nice conversations from our side. But we are reaching out, and you can also contact us if you want, and we are happy to share our numbers today.
Thank you. Okay, that was very smooth, Theo. Thank you so much. So next project, this is a direct spin-off of Fraunhofer Institute. Tom, the founder of Fly Bionic, started his journey as a researcher here at Fraunhofer, and then he saw there's potential behind his technology, and he said like, hey, I'm going to become a founder startup. So he founded Fly Bionic, which is a communication protocol for autonomous drones, especially with application in defense and first responders. So again, that fiction trickles down into this side of things, drones, but this is on the good side of humanity, right? So I'll pass it on to you, Tom.
Hello, my name is Tom Pichotta, CEO and co-founder of Fly Bionic. Our mission is to, good start. Our mission is to build resilient and scalable communication systems for drones to defend Europe. As the ancient Romans used to say, si vis pacem parabellum, which means if you want peace, prepare for war. In practice, the states that seem unprepared are the ones that get attacked. The recent events in Poland showed us that we are not prepared. 19 Russian drones entered the Polish airspace, and they've flown hundreds of kilometers into the country. And just 3 of them could be intercepted with missiles costs $500,000 each, fired from fighter jets, which costs 100 million apiece. And this approach is not scalable because in a real conflict, we would have to deal with 1,000 drones attacking at once. And that's why this approach is not working. Okay, back to communication. In every case, communication is the key for effectively deployment of drones. Even if you have AI on board, a drone relies only on AI is not more efficient than regular troops which are cut off their command center. It's not possible to adopt commands or redirect missions, or even it's not possible to share reconnaissance results. So I want to explain what drone communication means. Drone communication refers to the communication link between ground station and the drones. So on one direction, the drones send back their position data, battery status, and a video live stream. And in the other direction, the ground station can send commands to the drones, updating waypoints, missions, etc. This link has to be resilient to ensure uninterrupted communication and scalable, because it should be possible to operate many drones at once. There are different ways to control drones. The most common way in the consumer area, for example, is the handheld remote controller with limited range up to a few kilometers. And the other option with virtually unlimited range is through the cellular network or through satellite communication systems like Starlink. We are working primarily with cellular communication systems. We have lots of experience. We are working on this since more than 10 years, most of this at Fraunhofer. We control drones in Malawi from Berlin, and we also equipped drones for public authorities with advanced communication systems for reconnaissance applications. And recently we entered into a cooperation with one of the biggest European OEMs in the defense sector. We equip drone swarms with our communication system for training purposes. So it means that we enable systems like Rheinmetall, Skyranger, anti-air cannon to test their systems with our swarms by trying to shoot them down, and even in maritime environments, they try to defend their ships against drone swarms. In the next step, we want to equip intercepting drones with our communication system to save the airspace. These drones just ram into attacking drones like Shahed, which is a good approach because the cellular network is still existing and widespread, so it's a good way to guide the drones to the attacking swarms. Yeah, and to do it, we require a seed fund round, about 2.5 million, to build our organization and to go to market and expand internationally with a focus on Europe. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Tom. Right, we're almost halfway in, and I'll invite the next startup on stage, Neptune, which is an education app that uses AI and motion detection to help kids learn a music instrument. So finally, we have an app that can tell a 7-year-old that a violin bow is not a lightsaber. So please take the stage.
Thank you so much, Florian. Hello, everyone. I'm Ilkiyaz, co-founder of Neptune. So I've been a music student for years myself, so I know how challenging music learning can be. Oops. So for millions of kids, traditional lessons are expensive and frustrating. Majority of the kids quit within first lessons, actually. And we lose potential musicians, not because they lack talent, but because the process lacks magic. The ones who continue to play, they're likely to develop physical problems due to bad posture habits. So what we do, we give every student a digital music teacher that they can take home. We are the first platform that merges physical and digital worlds for music learning. Our motion detection AI watches a child's form and gives real-time feedback on their instrument and technique within an immersive AR game. So it's a pedagogical breakthrough disguised as a game. So we built an MVP that accurately tracks joints and body posture and feeds that data into teachers' dashboard, progressing every child's progress. We've also created a library of 200 songs that includes gamified music theory exercises that gives fundamentals of music. Right now, the app supports violin and piano. Our model is built on three synergistic revenue streams that creates a powerful ecosystem around Neptune. So our entry point is B2B, targeting private and public schools for classroom use. We use the school as an effective customer acquisition model. A child tries Neptune in the school and then goes home and wants to continue, and then we directly sell to the parents as a Neptune home subscription. Our first focus is children aged between 4 and 12, and we're starting within the top 15 countries that with the highest edtech investment and where digital learning is more common and barrier to entry is lower. Existing apps like Simply Piano and Musician are great, but they are lacking the physical feedback. So they're all designed for adults and for B2C. Neptune is specifically designed for kids and for the B2B area, which is underserved. Neptune is the only app that corrects posture and for instrument playing with motion detection AI. Because of our technology, we're able to extend to more instrument options where our competitors can only provide limited options. Our MVP can currently analyze real-time body posture and sound for violin and piano, and we partnered already with 6 pilot schools with more than 3,000 students, and we're testing our MVP currently with our pilot schools. We're going to expand to B2B2C and also with corporates and publishers partnering and diversifying our instrument and age options. We're currently raising $1 million and to increase our user base, and we already have 750K committed, and we have space for 1 or 2 more investors to join us close this round. We've been co-developing our motion detection AI with Fraunhofer, and as founded a music school and AI startup previously, we are bringing music education, AI, sales, business scaling, and technology backgrounds together, and our heads of computer vision department of Fraunhofer are supporting us in tech development. We're looking to expand our user base, so any introductions would be greatly appreciated. I'll be more than happy to be connected in our mockup there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's just kind of like 5 years down the road, we'll connect like a computer interface with our brains, and we don't need to have any motion detection, right? We just sort of upload that knowledge in our brains, right? Cool. Just to make again a bit of a sci-fi connection here. Moving forward, our fourth portfolio startup is Hoopu, an AI tool for daycare and child development. Please welcome Amir.
Thank you, Florian. Hi, everyone. Cool. Should be enough, actually. So let me start with this one and ask you what is colorful, loud, and quiet, understuffed, if you have any idea. So, Travis? Kindergarten. So this is actually a picture that was taken from a demo day too, very different to ours. So there were actually kids and teachers demonstrating for better conditions at their daycare. You can see this one says that my teachers are kaput. Can you please buy me a new one? Other one said the ratio teacher and kid is really, really high. So from our learnings, actually, we've talked to more than 500 teachers, early childhood educators. Teachers are drowning in, let me use this one, are drowning in admin work. So a lot of paperwork, a lot of difficulties in identifying and tailoring activities to kids, and the documentation process is really, really heavy and requires a lot of effort. So it actually manual, really, like 99% of it manual. They have to record observation. They go through the analysis of those observations on post-its and scattered notes, and they have to write down progress reports. We want to change this. We want to give teachers and their weekends and evenings back by offering them a speech-based, AI-powered copilot that streamlines workflows and increases productivity. So instead of, wait a second. So, well, let me go to the demo. So this is how it would look like. So you can have a look. As a teacher, you simply can use your voice. You can talk to Hupu, record your observation. Let's take Elena, for example, our music teacher, and she says that Salma now started writing down music notes. You can upload the picture of Salma to, it gets analyzed, the text too gets analyzed. You get an assessment about, by the way, we also have integrated history. This is for Florian and Travis, to our current investors. So now the observation and the assessment is aware of the teacher, of the kids' past too. So you get where things stand, the progress, the strengths of the kids, areas for development, and the next steps also suggested for the teacher. The market is really huge, so people really think like, usually it's high schools and primary schools that are big, but also early education institutions are really big. So we're targeting, the TAM is 145 million children attending actually those schools. And our serviceable available market will be 54 million children. We'll be offering Hupu, or we already actually offer Hupu on a subscription basis to education centers. So education centers, they pay $1.5 per child per month for center management, for the voice interaction, for the AI-powered assessment. And since we're witnessing now hundreds and thousands actually of parents using Hupu on a daily basis, we're thinking about also launching a Parent Plus for them with more insights about the child development and also at-home activities and memory albums. We've witnessed really huge pull. So we have more than 35 subscribed centers. Actually, that 85 lead conversion rate is wrong. I've personally heard only one no until today. We've validated our product in 3 different markets, Doha, Cairo, and of course Berlin here. And those are like real pictures from real onboardings with real teachers and principals. We're raising 1.5 million. We want to achieve 2 million ARR in the next 2 years. And also, so to scale to 700, the money will mainly go to sales and marketing. The product is more than ready. You'll see it later. The team behind this, me myself, I'm a CEO. I hold a PhD in gamification. I'm a second-time founder. Ayub is our CTO. He holds 2 master degrees in cognitive science and machine learning. Dahi, our COO, CPO too. He holds a Power MBA. He's an engineer too. I want to say this, I'll tell you why. Hamza, our AI engineer and full stack developer. And you maybe ask yourselves what brought 4 engineers to this colorful world. I mean, it's not really like a man's world. I mean, if you look at yourselves like here, black, 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 black. Yeah, so you black too? We have the answer. We are, all of us, dads, and we deeply care by design. The extended team is actually the answer, and we keep on growing, actually. So you can congratulate Ayub back there, too. So, so let's join hands and give teachers and parents a voice. Liturgy.
Thank you. Now I have to rush and pop one, right? Myself. I feel the pressure is real, right? Right. Moving on. Our 5th startup for today. Again, one of those internal spin-outs out of research here at HHI. In case I don't know if you, Travis, mentioned them, but we do have 2 Emmys sitting on director's office for the video compression. So on that topic, I want to invite on stage Spin Digital, which builds video compression technology for broadcasting, streaming, and production. So creators can push quality without pushing bandwidth off a cliff. So
Yeah, thanks, Lorin. Well, hello, everyone. So I'm Mauricio Alvarez, COO and co-founder of Spin Digital. What we do is video codecs, and I will tell you why this is important and why we are working on that. Basically, without video compression, most of the services that we use now will not exist. But just to give you a measurement of the problem, without video compression, even YouTube will need 130 times more bandwidth than the global internet can do. So this is just as, the first part of the problem, because now there's a lot of streaming, Netflix, many services, but there is a trend towards more live streaming. So that means that these video compression systems that we call video codecs need not only to compress the videos, make them smaller, high quality, but also do it live in real time. So, and this is where we basically work. Video compression is a multidimensional problem. So the solution that we have for this, well, first the problem is we need to do this compression. We need to do it live. We need to do it with high quality, with low latency. We need to add many features depending on the customers. So this is a multidimensional problem, and the best companies in the space are the ones who can basically fulfill all the dimensions, or be the best, or almost the best in all these dimensions. And just to give you an example of something that we did last year of the Paris Olympics, together with Intel. So we start with there was an 8K resolution that is 4 times more than 4K. And then we provide the live encoders so that we can encode these 8K streams coming from the Olympic Games in real time with the latest video codec called VVC, deliver it over the internet to several locations worldwide, and then decode and receive. That's the data rates for streaming live 8K content is around 50 gigabit per second. And we compress this down to 30 megabit per second, which is around 1 or more than 1,000 times compression. And the end-to-end latency cannot be more than 2 or 3 seconds. So these were the challenges, and this was a proof of concept at the Olympic Games. So our video codecs are a software solution. So we license this software either as an application, some software that people can directly run, but mostly, or our main target is to license it as an SDK. So we give it to some system integrators, they put it in their own service, and they sell it in different ways to their own users. And we get revenue streams in the forms of royalties, depending on the business model of our customers. And who are those customers? So we are mostly in the media and entertainment sector, but right now we're also entering others like defense. And in the media and entertainment, there are of course the biggest ones, the streaming platforms like Netflix, Disney+, Warner Bros, and so on. But there are also companies that sell equipment to them or to the traditional broadcasters. They sell all the equipment you need to make a TV station. But more recently, there are new companies on the market that they do encoding as a service. So for these platforms, or for anyone who wants to do streaming, including live streaming, these platforms do it as a service. And as I mentioned, there are other markets for video encoders, including defense, medical, education, and we are entering the defense market, and I will mention this a little bit more in a minute. The market size for video codecs is huge, basically because the overall media and entertainment market is really big, and there are encoders for many things, for streaming, as I mentioned, but also medical, education, real-time communication, and so on. And only in the media and entertainment, there are market sizes like around 2.8 billion. But there are different types of encoders. Some of them are hardware, and some of them are software. So we are addressing the software part of the video encoders. So we are already in the market. We have several customers in several domains. I just want to mention very briefly, 2. One is Harmonic, which is the largest broadcast manufacturer, and we are about to sign a contract with one of the top 4 streaming platforms for them to start using our encoders. Compared to others in this field, as I mentioned before, this is a multidimensional problem, so we cannot say in one dimension we are 10% better. We need to look at the overall dimensions. Compared to some other software companies, our performance dimension is 2 times better. Compared to hardware encoders, for example, NVIDIA, they offer hardware encoders. Our compression dimension is 30% better. And there are many other points there, but I don't need to describe them now. We have been doing a lot of things in the last few years. As I already mentioned, last year we did a demo with Intel in the Paris Olympics. That means that we released encoders that can do 8K BBC live streaming. We licensed this to a major broadcast manufacturer, and we also started very recently our ultra-low latency support and working with the first customers in the defense sector, and a major streaming platform is about to sign with us. When we look into the future, we see other areas like defense, especially in surveillance, reconnaissance. This needs ultra-low latency, which we already have, and content security and stream protection, and we are working with researchers of HHI on this problem. There is also AI video compression, a completely different idea on how to do video coding based on deep neural networks and large amounts of video data that might come in 5 years or something. And we are also working with a joint project on immersive video, how to do 8K plus resolution in 3D for sports, live sports, football, tennis, and deliver this to head-mounted display devices like the Apple Vision Pro. So, well, that's, let's say our core idea is to implement the best video codecs in any domain, and that's why we think we can extend to those domains. So we are a team of engineers. I have a PhD in computer engineering. Our CEO and CTO, he have a lot of experience, and he's the main developer, and we have developers in different areas, SDK, media players, encoders. And recently, some members of the video coding systems group of HHI joined our company as part of the advisory board. And that's it for my presentation. Thank you very much.
So we are closer to a computer-brain interface. It's just feels like Total Recall, right? Like at that point where this Arnold Schwarzenegger like buys this trip to Mars, and then the whole story unfolds. It's kind of like, you know, you don't really know if it's reality or he's actually in this immersive media. But yeah, hopefully, yeah, this would be like a future sort of a sci-fi here, right? Cool. The bonus. Everybody's waiting for the bonus startup, right? They just came in, but they came in hard, motivated, and obviously we had to make them give them space on stage today. I think this guy is now we kind of make compared with Netflix. Like this guys watch more mouse videos than most of us watch Netflix videos, you know. So I'll invite iMouse, which is an AI-powered video analysis that extracts behavioral insights from mice in preclinical research. Mirko, please.
Thanks a lot. So, as I understood, we are the bonus, and we learned from Tom, everything is driven by science or scientific ideas. So, who of you guys know Pinky and the Brain? Okay, there are some. So I'm not sure if this is science fiction, but it's also something what you can compare. But yeah, coming back to the problem. Sorry, I'm Mirko. I'm the CEO and co-founder of iMouse. And in the room is Jörg, our product manager, and Andres, our creative. And in the call are also our head of AI, Sivan, and our CTO, Simon. So however, what we focus is the problem of pharma. and pharma spend every year nearly 100 billion in looking for new components, new medications. And 90% of them are failing. 90%. And why? Because there is a gap between the preclinical and the clinicals. And our focus is to reduce this gap and also to reduce the usage of animals. This is what we focus. A typical laboratory in Germany, but around the globe it's nearly standardized. It's called home cage, what you see there. And observation is purely manual. So that means the human is observing an animal on a daytime, but this animal, as the fundament of our medication, is night active. The second thing, they have an observer effect. What means they hiding the symptoms to their predators. What means they showing that everything is fine until they are dying, nearly. And surely, I would say if you have 3 persons and they're watching an animal, they are subjective in their recognition. So this is what motivates us, because only 5% of data today is used for the new medications. And our real focus is Translatability. So in German, Übertragbarkeit. So, okay. How we do it? So we develop 4 parts. The one is a digiframe, and the digiframe is built around an existing home cage. As fundamental part, therefore, we have a camera. It's really small. It's night active, so we can observe them in their habitat, in their original habitat. So, and the retrofit approach is important because we don't want to build plastic and metal. We really want to focus on data. Will bring us to the second part, the platform. With this platform, based on an open source approach, changed or modified to scientists' requirements, we do the data recording, access, and storage. And this is the fundament then for our main part, the heart, iMouse brain. Because in iMouse brain, we recognize the animals, the behavior, and the duration of the behavior. But this is only possible with the community of scientists. This is what we built up the last years. And this is why we're here. Because that's not everything. We do also remote maintenance. We build a platform to monitor all our installations on real time. We also do IT integration and lab integration. And our target group is today the university, because it needs to be validated. That's the most important thing. You can have a product in the industry, but it doesn't work here because it needs to be validated. And it needs to be validated to get to pharma and the chemicals, because they need to do animal testing by law, mandatory, globally. And we facing the CRO, contract research organizations. There are more than 5,000 globally with this focus because they outsource it mostly. So our traction you can see here, mostly we focus on the German market, and we have some really good customers and also partners. University of Heidelberg, Mannheim, we have the LMU, we have the Forschungsinstitut Jülich, Max Planck Institute, and we are now on another 76 system. But our biggest goal is now getting into pharma. So we got the first pharma contract this year with a 12-month validation study. And what you see here is also that we are since 2 days part of Fraunhofer, because Fraunhofer is also our partner for developing the AI part. And what we learned at the last pitch, the codec is one of the most important things because we're streaming. And to reduce this bandwidth, it's also a part of our journey. So our sales model is one-time payment for hardware and annual payment for the software access and the AI access. And even a success from our side is the first customer of us, the LMU in Munich, is now getting in the recurrent revenue because they see the value also in the AI component. So we need 2 million for the platform development, for the AI development, the system validation between or within pharma and CRO, and to increase the community, because the community is the most important thing, as I explained. Industrialization and expansion, because the market is shifting from Germany to India to Bangladesh to all these countries, because the regulations are less, but pharma need to do that. And the good thing is, with a system like that, they can observe them from here. Yeah, big thanks also to Janine. She's not here today. She's in Hamburg in our main lab, and she's talking today first time to the authority, because they need to see, to understand and influence also the market, because it can be mandatory in the future. And you see, we not produce these products by ourselves. We have an EMS supplier, and we have a sales partner for the lead generation. And yeah, Fraunhofer, are we here? And the cloud inference partner, OVH. So thanks a lot, and we're looking forward to have a discussion afterwards.
If I make this analogy of like the cheese and the mouse, and kind of like use the cheese to trap the mouse, this is the perfect pitch for the investors who can trap them, right? So the cage is open for all the investors. There was it from our side. From what I've learned from my colleagues, there's 6 investors. They all have some sort of hearts or clips, and they have priority, from what I've been told, in meeting the startups. So if you don't have this hard clip, you're invited to grab some food and some drinks, and just wait in line. But hopefully that's gonna go pretty fast. Otherwise, I've been told that our streaming ends here. So I don't know which camera to wave, but thank you everybody who joined in from abroad and virtually. Thanks a lot. Do reach out to us. I'm sure there is a way that we have set up for you guys to follow up. And that's it. Everything from my side. Thank you all for being here and for the great pitches, everybody. Thanks a lot.